Welcome to the Autism ADHD podcast. It's the place to be for neurodiversity affirming parents and professionals. I'm your host, Holly Blanc Moses, the mom neurodivergent therapist. Here we chat about emotional regulation, mental health, social support, executive functioning, learning, and more, all aimed at empowering us to support kids and teens with compassion and understanding. I'm thrilled that you joined me today, and I've got some pretty exciting news to share with you. For those rock star therapists listening right now, I've created continuing education training that is tailor-made for you. Take a deep dive into cutting-edge strategies that you can start using today. The CEs you've wanted for so long are finally here. Go to hollyblancmoses.com/CE training and sign up. You are going to love it. The link is also available in the show notes. Now, if you are a parent or educator listening and you know a therapist or a psychologist that is passionate about supporting kids and teens, I greatly appreciate it if you could pass on this great news. Thanks so much again for your support, and let's get started. Welcome, Kate Moryoussef, to the Autism ADHD podcast.
Thank you. Good to be here. Lovely to meet you, Holly.
It's so great to meet you, and I'm excited for this conversation. Before we get into it, I am going to introduce you real quick. Kate is the host of award-winning and chart-topping the ADHD Women's Wellbeing podcast, a woman's ADHD lifestyle and well-being coach, and EFT practitioner. She was diagnosed with ADHD at 40. And Kate understands firsthand the unique challenges women face in rediscovering their true selves while managing ADHD. With over 2 decades of experience, she combines insights from her journey, coaching expertise, and qualifications to help newly diagnosed ADHD women find validation, self-compassion, and authentic empowerment. A mother of 4, Kate is passionate about sharing transformative tools that promote calm, confidence, and balance in life, relationships, and work. So all the things.
Yeah.
Right? Just all the things.
Just all the things that we're juggling with every day. Yeah.
And what I love about this conversation is that we can be authentic with each other, like 2 ADHD women who understand that this is not easy. And you and I both weren't even diagnosed until later in life.
Yeah.
So was it surprising to you when you received your diagnosis?
It was and it wasn't. Like, finally I had an answer. So I was like, just so happy that I could see myself and understand myself through this lens. But I grew up with 2 brothers who were diagnosed with ADHD when they were kids. So this was back in late 80s, early 90s for my younger brother. And so I always knew about ADHD, and I always I guess maybe didn't even understand it. I saw how it presented in boys and what that looked like from quite a surface level situation, from an academic perspective, from maybe a disruptive perspective, like all sort of the negatives. And remember, this was the early 90s, and we really did only have this sort of scratch the surface understanding of ADHD, and it was the ADD then. So I was like, okay, so that kind of makes sense. I've got it, but I'm a girl, so it presents differently. But my daughter was also diagnosed at the same time. It was within a few weeks of each other. So it was her, she was my mirror. She was the mirror that I looked and I could see myself as a child and see how that presented. And then throughout the different eras of my life, decades of my life, I could see how the ADHD was always there. It just showed up in different ways. And I always say it's like mutates and changes as we get older, hormones change, life stresses, circumstances change, careers change. So it's always there. It's what we do with it. It's how we enhance ourselves, our lifestyles, and look after ourselves, nurture ourselves, all these things. and it presents differently over time. So the short answer to the question is, I don't think I was that surprised. I was just grateful that I had an explanation.
I feel the same way. And also a little sad. I don't know if you felt that way. I was almost wanting to go back in time and just give myself a big hug and saying, you have so many strengths, but you're being told that you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong.
Yeah.
You can't do this, you should be doing this. And so I feel like so many people, whether you have a diagnosis, whether you're neurodivergent, whether you suspect you are, we have such a struggle with self-acceptance. And I think it happens as we're being developed, right? Like the information we hear. How do you accept yourself if you were told that you're not enough?
Yeah.
Or you're not trying hard enough, or you're too this or too that? What does self-acceptance actually look like in daily life for a lot of us that have masked for so long, just trying to fit into these neurotypical expectations? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think we can have self-acceptance until we have self-compassion. So I think the self-compassion comes first. And it's hard to have self-compassion without self-understanding.
Yeah.
So we need to understand ourselves because, like you say, we will have lived a lifetime of criticisms, external and internal, seeking external validation, not understanding why we have these blocks around us in different areas of our life, from relationships to career to academia to organization, and especially with women, with the standards that we are having to live up to, these societal kind of expectations on us. So we have to start with, okay, we need the understanding. Okay, I understand we've got a neurodivergent brain that no one's picked up before. Then we can give ourselves compassion and love and forgiveness. And then we can go into that self-acceptance of, okay. So for me, it's always the awareness, the self-compassion, and then we get to the self-acceptance. And maybe some people might find it different in a different way, but that for me was the most intuitive way that helped me. And I guide my clients as well, because and what you mentioned before is there's grief. It's a process. And a lot of people go through this process because there's anger. Like, why has no one picked this up before? Resentment, sadness, grief for all that could have been, and anger that we haven't been supported. So there's a lot of big emotions to process, but I really hope that through these emotions, so many more women are able to find the most authentic version of themselves through this and just go, okay, I can breathe now. I know what's going on. That's just how it shows up for me. And maybe I can get some tools that might help me. And maybe I'll feel more empowered if I have some coaching or some therapy, or figure out organizational tools that can help, all these emotional regulation tools, all these different things. But essentially, I am enough. Like, I am enough. And I'm doing the best I can. And that is when I see a bit of a change in mindset from people that have lived like this. I speak to women in their 60s and 70s who are getting this mindset shift, who are finally dropping that ridiculous pressure and the expectation that we put on ourselves all our life, and we can just breathe. And very often there's a bit of a ripple effect throughout our life. Like we put up different boundaries. There's people maybe that we don't want to see or speak to anymore. We lean into the more creative side. We move away from, I don't know, from environments or places that we live that don't work for our nervous system. So we're able to make more informed choices as well. So I think it's a very empowering thing to have a diagnosis so we can move through those kind of, I don't know, like processes with a lot more self-compassion.
Self-compassion is so important. And this is for our kids. This is for us. This is incredibly important because that shapes our approach to these tough situations and how we do talk to ourselves. Yeah. Was there a moment, I'm sure there were actually lots of moments, because I know there are for me too, where you realized that you were being too hard on yourself?
Oh my God, all the time. Yeah. I put something that my husband used to say to me is I put everyone else on a pedestal. And I would always see other people and say they're just doing a much better job than me. They're always that, why are they doing so much better? Why are they so much further ahead? Like, I would just see somebody and I would put myself all the way down at the bottom, because I did have something blocking me. It was my ADHD. I didn't know what it was. Like, there was a block because I didn't understand my brain, and I didn't understand why I was prone to overwhelm or RSD or emotional dysregulation, or where my executive functioning or organizational skills were a deficit. And everything was back to, there's something wrong with me. I have a flaw. It's a personality defect and I have to fix it. So that is when I knew I was always hard on myself, and I put so much pressure on myself as well. So still to this day, I do put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, I guess it's a mix of being ambitious, wanting to make a difference, I guess feeling like this social activism that is desperately needed for this community. And I push myself. And I am prone to burnout for sure. I know that. So I have to just recognize that and check in with that. So yeah, I've always just put so much pressure on myself to just keep doing more. And I know that the version of me, the way my ADHD shows up is this productivity kind of motor, that this drive that I find hard to settle. And it's something that I have to learn, because I have a nervous system that likes to be busy the whole time, which isn't so great as well, because that's when I know I'm always on the cusp of burnout. So I live and breathe this stuff myself because I understand it. And thankfully, through understanding myself and what I do and how I help other people, is I'm able to almost be in like a bit of a burnout prevention. And I notice and I see, and I can almost see myself as like a client and say, right, now it's time to take your foot off the pedal. Like, you are doing enough. And I have to speak to myself, say, you've been productive enough. You can't do any more. There's other things that are more important right now, like your kids and your family. Yeah, the pressure is there. This productivity drive is there because I do want to make a difference, and I do have a lot to share. And I do believe this community needs serving, because there's so many women who have just been lost. We know about this lost generation or generations of women who have just not had this awareness. So I do feel a bit of a drive, but I also have to manage my own health and well-being. And I'm very aware of that. So I try and practice what I preach as well.
I think that's incredible. I think you and I may be the same person, just on the other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
There's this really hard kind of push and pull about wanting to do all these things, but you're one person. And how do you do all these things? And we need to take care of our kids and their needs, and they have more needs. I love that you were talking about this burnout prevention, because I feel like I am very much headed in that direction. I've got to be really careful. I'll tell myself, okay, Holly, what is this should that's coming up for you? Where is this coming from? Like, society has this idea of what this is supposed to look like. And I try to catch it. When you're working in that area of burnout prevention, what are some things that you recommend?
So it's catching it. It's really being able to pause and notice and say, okay, what's happening? I guess I notice it in my body. And I always say people check in with their body from a somatic perspective, because we are the jaw clenchers. We're the ones with chronic pain. We're the ones that have migraines. It shows up physically, this inflammation, this sort of chronic stress that we put ourselves under, but it's also unknowingly, because we have these nervous systems that respond the way they do. So we have to be more aware. Like, I always say this, we are more prone to stress. We are more prone to burnout. And we have to notice those nuanced signs, those little tiny signals that will feel very subtle until they're not subtle. So for me, I have it in my back. So if I start noticing the niggle, I notice, okay, what's happened over the past week? Have I been overworking? Have I been stressed? Have I got too much on my plate? Have I not said no enough? Have I overcommitted? all these different things. And I'm constantly checking in and looking to see what I can pull back, what I can say no to, who's crossed a boundary, like where have I allowed that boundary to be crossed. And constantly, it sounds a bit exhausting, but it's constantly rejigging and re-maneuvering. But I get used to it because I notice that if I don't do that, I need space to breathe, I need space to decompress. So that shows up in my diary, that shows up in my self-care, that shows up in, have I socialized enough? Have I seen the people that I care about? Have I been creative? Have I had time in nature? Have I been off my social media? Like, so much of it. And we don't have any of this without awareness. Like, so many of us are just operating like robotic mode. I should be doing this. I need to be doing that. And this is what's expected of me. But we can choose, we can say no. We can say no. And often, and not all the time, but often the expectations, the pressure come from ourselves. We're the ones that are putting that on ourselves. Like, I should be showing up on social media. I should be sending that other email. I should be replying or whatever, or I should be going to this thing. But actually, when we learn that those shoulds are that means there's something, there's a bit of a push-pull there, we need to question it. So I have just started just being really conscious about the questioning, the checking in, the looking at my diary, and doing that every day and noticing.
I love that, noticing. It's interesting when you were saying that, because I have forgot to post on social media this week. Completely forgot, because I've had so much going on personally and professionally. And I didn't even get a podcast out last week because I had too many things happening. What is lovely is our watchers and listeners, they get it. They get it. That can be us showing you can let this go if you don't have the bandwidth to do that this week. Now, it did come with, Holly, that's terrible. Other people can. What's wrong with that? Was the default that came up. But then I thought, no, wait, my watchers and listeners are amazing. They're the best people out there. They get it. And they're going to understand. I think that's part of the noticing, because if you were to ask a parent, how do you notice if your child's becoming dysregulated? Because often our kids aren't going to say, hey, mom, I'm starting to feel a little dysregulated. They're not going to do that. So we're constantly tuned in to what's happening for them. We don't take that same skill and use it to identify what's happening in ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we are juggling a lot. And I think you say, if we have kids who are also ADHD, autistic, we're carrying a lot, and we're also navigating ourselves in this ecosystem that is constantly changing. And then even more so as women, because we have our hormonal fluctuations as well. So we're balancing and juggling a lot. And it's really important that we have this space and time to breathe and to pause and to check in and notice, because if not, our emotional regulation's all over the place. And that is going to stop us from co-regulating and being able to have what I would want in my house is like calm, groundedness. So if there is a lot of reactivity, which there often is in my house, I'm able to be the stability in that situation and not be the other person that's all over the place, that's flying off the handle. And trust me, I've learned the hard way. I've learned the hard way. And there's been just chaos and explosion going off in the house, and everyone's like having a meltdown in different ways. But I have learned that if I don't anchor myself, and the only way I can anchor myself is through all this self-care and this burnout prevention and looking after myself and checking in with myself, so I can help my kids who are not in a place from a maturity perspective to understand all about this just yet, even though I'm dropping it in and hoping that the ripple effect will follow as they get older. So it's so important. Like, I don't think us as parents understand the importance of how us being the anchor can influence the system around us.
I agree. What you're speaking of is not just another level of masking, looking like you've got it together, looking like you're okay when you're not. This is really checking in with yourself, doing that work on the front end So you're not falling apart when
Mm.
these things are happening in the house or getting that call from school. You can figure out how to notice in a way that works best for you and being able to notice faster. I don't know what your thoughts are about this, Kate, but I experimented a little bit of with this for a month. I got these self-care temporary tattoos because what I was looking for was to shorten the space between the default thought of, Holly, you should be doing this. What's wrong with you? Why can't you roller skate and balance 100 marbles on a tray? It really helped because it was right there on my arm. I can look at it, read it at any time. If you want to learn more about that, let me know. I do think that's really important, and we can model that. Again, not just clenched teeth, white knuckling it, but really being able to be in a situation where you are the calmness instead of coming into an interaction where you are so dysregulated and they are so dysregulated. And again, like you said, we practice it every single day, and not just every day, but all through the day. It takes a lot of effort, but it's absolutely worth it. And all of you are worth it.
Yeah, I like that idea of the tattoo because I'm the same. If I don't have a reminder or it's object permanent, we just forget about it. And then we go, oh, I used to do that thing. And why do I not do that thing anymore? Because with our brains, we've maybe started doing something else or forgotten about it, but we do need these reminders. So don't feel bad because you need a reminder to drink water, or you need a reminder to go and stretch your legs or go to the toilet or go and get some fresh air outside. We need to do whatever we can and to use this scaffolding or whatever we can to help ourselves. Like you say, just find this calm. So whether it's post-it notes, a tattoo, it's diary like reminders on your phone, whatever that might be, use it because we're all different. We all absorb information in different ways. I personally like to have like my little rituals and the things that work for me. So my little rituals might just be making sure I have a bath, and I have by my bath my salts, my oils, and so it's all very easy and I can just know that's going to be a place where I can decompress. I also make sure I have lots of drinks on my table, so I know I get dehydrated quite easily, so I always need to drink. And I have a dog, so my dog is my daily reminder to go and move your body for an hour a day. And I get outside and I walk, and thank goodness I live near nature and I can go out and I can breathe. And so very often I'll go out and I've been like doing my emails and uploading things and like a banging everything out in typical fast ADHD style. I notice I can't breathe, like my chest is tight. My nervous system is just like really on the edge. And I go and I leave my phone and I walk and I breathe and I walk and I breathe. And for me, that I come back and I'm a different person. So I have to do these little daily things. I use EFT tapping as a really fast, effective way of just calming again, going like bringing that stress response down, the cortisol in my body. So I find these little ways, and everyone's different. It's just finding what works for you and not going down that I should be doing this and need to be doing that, the obligations. It's like, do what works for you, whatever that might be, and try and build that into a ritual in your day, and then see if that brings a bit more calm into your daily life.
I love that. And it's those things that make all the difference. Because because sometimes when we talk about self-care, I don't know about you, I'm like, that's nice. When you had time to do that. But when you step back, it doesn't have to be a weekend at the spa. It doesn't have to be these major expensive things. I was talking to one of my clients a couple weeks ago, and we were working on noticing what does feel better for you, what does help your body. She said nature. I'm like, yeah, I love that. How can we do that? We are modeling for our kids of what we're doing for ourselves. Say that out loud too. I am feeling this way. My body's signaling to me that I need to take care of myself. And that's important. Just noticing and happen to bring it up in front of them. I think that's a lovely thing because we as a society push productivity. That's
Yeah.
where your value comes. You've got to be busy. Most of us ADHDers were called lazy, all of these other things, which we weren't. We are misunderstood. And that doesn't mean that we have to keep busy to prove that we're worthy, right? So I love this conversation. Okay. I am so excited, Kate, because you've got a book coming out.
I
Tell us
do.
about it.
So it's called the ADHD Women's Wellbeing Toolkit. So it's based on the podcast, which is the ADHD Women's Wellbeing podcast. And it's been a real, I loved and hated writing it. The hated bit was the ADHD bit of me that would procrastinate and struggle, and then there'll be perfectionism. But I had so much to say, and I was so happy that I was able to put it into what I wanted it for it to be. It's sort of a daily toolkit. So everything that we just talked about, I talk about burnout plan in there. I talk about emotional regulation and anxiety and creativity and all these different things, everything that lights me up in this space and what I talk about with my clients, my community, but on the podcast, I've put in the book because it helps me. And I've noticed it's helped a lot of other people as well. And it's really speaking to anyone who is wherever they are in this journey. So you might just be curious about ADHD. You might just be listening to this because you have a child with ADHD. But this is about meeting you where you are with no kind of expectations or shoulds. It's just, if you feel like you just want to take some daily practices or just find a way to make your lifestyle work better for you alongside your neurodivergence that you've discovered later on in life, then this is for you. And I've really hoped that it meets whoever it is, where they're at. And yeah, I'm really proud of it. And I've recorded an audiobook as well. So if people don't love a book, but they prefer listening, I've narrated it all myself and I've gone through chapter by chapter and try to make it as easily processable as possible, because I know that I need things to be quite, I don't want to call it simplistic, but I do like simple. I do streamlined. I like easy, simple, effective tools that I don't have to remember. I don't have to flick through 10 different steps. So I've written it for me and the version of me maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And so I hope there's plenty of other people who are the versions of me as well that might need this book too.
I'm very excited about it. So if you're listening to when this is first launched, this episode, it's June 2025. So the book is coming out in some countries in July, some in August. But if you are an ADHDer like me, you're going to want to jump right now over to that link that I've got below in the show notes and pre-order. And Kate, you know how we love surprises. It's, oh, I'm so surprised that I got this beautiful book. I don't even remember ordering it. I know what it's like to forget things. Believe me, I struggle with it all the time. We just want to make sure that you have this awesome tool. So Kate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It has been so fun talking with you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I really appreciate that, because I love nothing more than ordering a book and then totally forgetting and then it arriving and being like, oh. So I want everyone to have that gift of ordering, forgetting, and then it arriving. So yeah, thank you for that. It's been great to chat to you, Holly.
It was great talking with you too. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Take care. If you found this podcast helpful, I greatly appreciate it if you could take a second to give it a 5-star review. With your positive feedback, I can continue bringing you free, valuable information. As an extra thanks to you, there are special gifts waiting for you in the show notes. You'll find links to free resources on supporting neurodivergent kids and teens with social interaction, emotional regulation, and more. So come on down to the show notes and get your free resources. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
All content provided is protected under applicable copyright, patent, trademark, and other proprietary rights. All content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. No content is intended to be a substitute for professional medical or psychological diagnosis, advice, or treatment. Information provided does not create an agreement for service between Holly Blanc Moses, Crossvine Clinical Group, the interviewee, Holly Blanc Moses LLC, and the recipient. Consult your physician regarding the applicability of any opinions or recommendations with respect to your symptoms or medical condition or the symptoms or medical condition of your family member. Children or adults who show signs of dangerous behavior toward themselves and or others should be placed immediately under the care of a qualified professional.